The uni knot is one of the most well-known knots. Here we will test how to tie the strongest uni knot. It is a simple knot, and it is easy to tie. As standard, the line is passed once through the eye of the hook or swivel. After that, the line is wrapped around the loop 4 to 6 turns. Four to 6 turns is said to give the strongest knot, and that is what we will test. We will also test whether a double uni knot is stronger. The uni knot is a sliding knot, and it is also good when, for example, tying the line onto the reel spool. I call this series Knot Science. You might say not science, but I can at least say that I have tried to be as precise and consistent in my tests as possible. For all tests, I have used this monofilament nylon line from a well-known brand. This is not a line test, it is a comparison between different knots. We start by testing how many turns give the strongest knot, and we begin with just 1 turn, simply to see the result. I've seen unexpected results in several of my other knot tests. No one would tie it with only 1 turn, but let's see what happens. It is clear that the line slips and the knot does not lock. 1.27 kilograms, 2.79 pounds. That is not good for a 30-pound line, but it is not surprising either. All tests are performed 3 times, and the average forms the basis for the final conclusion. Let's try with 2 turns. The result is of course much better. 3 turns, even better. Four turns. Now we see a significant improvement. I've previously tested different clinch knots and how many turns are best. Those tests produced very surprising results, links in the description. So far, however, there are no big surprises with the uni knot. Let's try 5 turns. We can see that the line inside the knot is stretched and becomes thinner, and often breaks right at the knot. Many turns lock the knot, but they also damage the line. 5 turns actually give a slightly worse average and greater variation in the results. Worse again. Not really necessary, but let's try 7 turns. Yes, much worse. Almost as bad as just 2 turns. The conclusion is clear. The strongest knot with this line is 4 to 5 turns. And that is also what most people recommend. But many also say that thin lines require 6 to 8 turns. We need to test that. We skip 1 turn and start with 2 and move quickly through the test. The results show that there is no reason to test 7 turns. 4 to 5 turns are again best, but the difference between 2 and 6 turns is actually not very large. Let's also try with a thicker line. Again, no reason for 7 turns. The best results are at 4 to 6 turns, and the variation is greater than with a thin line. Now to the big question, is the double uni knot really better? Double uni simply means that the line is passed twice through the eye of the hook or swivel. First, we test with our standard line, and then with both thin and thick line. The results are clear. The double uni knot produces more consistent results, and there is not a big difference between 2 and 6 turns. When we take the average of 2 to 6 turns, it is 5.5% stronger. 3 to 4 turns are actually the strongest. In other words, slightly fewer than with the traditional uni knot. We repeat the test with the thin line. Again, the double uni is strongest, and again with more consistent results. Test with 30-pound line. Same story, but even clearer. The double uni is significantly stronger. 17.45% stronger. It requires fewer turns and produces more stable results. There is, however, one exception. In the test with 5 turns, the knot looks correct, but is still weaker than the average. It will happen during testing, but it also happens out on the water. Even when you're careful, some knots will vary significantly. Final results and conclusions. The pattern is clear. The double uni knot is stronger on average, and it actually performs better the thicker the line is. And the myth that thin lines require many turns, that certainly does not apply here. In previous tests with other knots, I have also tested fluorocarbon, and I get the same result as with monofilament line. I have done a few fluorocarbon tests with a uni knot, and the picture is the same. The results from monofilament can therefore, with high probability, be transferred directly to fluorocarbon. And now the final conclusion. Use the double uni knot. 3 to 4 turns are best regardless of line thickness. 4 to 5 turns are best for the regular uni knot, also regardless of line thickness. I have also tested the uni knot with braided line. See the link in the description.